Welcome to Shadowed Tales Archive, a place where forgotten stories breathe again, where whispers crawl from the cracks of reality, and fear finds a voice. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and listen closely, because some tales were never meant to be told. Tonight's story is titled The Contract of Silence. Let the shadows speak.
Part 1. The Drift. Nathan Cole couldn't scream in the vacuum of space, but he tried anyway, a futile gasp echoing only inside his helmet, bouncing off the cold glass as if mocking him. The stars didn't care. They just watched, quiet, eternal, and impossibly far away. Nathan had no idea how long he'd been drifting. Maybe hours, maybe days. There was no clock, just darkness. He didn't remember the explosion, only the sensation. One moment adjusting a coolant line in the cargo bay of the Artemis Freightliner 27, the next weightless, alone, severed from the hull. Now he spun slowly in the black. Earth was a speck behind him. The ship, if it still existed, was gone. His oxygen tank blinked in warning, 31%. Each inhale echoed like a countdown. He wasn't supposed to be out here alone. Freightliners ran with full crews, support systems, tether lines. But the Artemis had been under emergency staffing protocols after the last economic collapse. Skeleton crew. Nathan volunteered for double shifts, double pay, double regret. His visor reflected a pinprick of light. At first, he thought it was another hallucination, like the star that blinked Morse code at him yesterday. Or the ghost of his brother Jacob, who'd appeared laughing, floating in a tattered birthday hat. But the light was moving. Fast. It shimmered gold, not like a flare or beacon. More like a glint off silk. It twisted in patterns that didn't obey physics. Didn't make sense. Nathan blinked. It was closer now. Too close. He flailed, instinct taking over, as if kicking in a vacuum would somehow move him. It didn't. His body just turned, and now the light was right in front of him. It had shape. Humanoid. A man. Floating. Wearing a slate gray suit. Tie crisp. Leather shoes polished. He was sitting in an invisible chair, legs crossed, arms folded over a silver briefcase balanced on his lap. No helmet, no suit, just existing. Nathan's heart raced. His mind screamed. But the stranger only offered a slight nod, like a banker greeting a client. "Mr. Cole," the man said, lips barely moving. Nathan froze. "What the hell?" "I understand you're in a difficult situation." His voice wasn't filtered through radio waves or helmet comms. It came directly into Nathan's head. Smooth, even-toned, dispassionately pleasant. Like someone reading insurance terms. "Who are you?" Nathan choked out. The man tilted his head. "I'm a problem solver." "Am I dead?" A slight chuckle. "Not yet." Nathan looked at the man's briefcase. No logos. No buckles, just a perfect silver rectangle like a capsule. It hummed faintly. "What do you want?" Nathan asked. The man didn't answer. Instead, he extended a single finger and pointed behind Nathan. Nathan turned, and that's when he saw it. The stars were gone. All of them. Just erased, as if someone had spilled ink across the cosmos. A black mass was expanding across the void. Not a shadow. Not space debris. Something worse. It was eating the light. The background radiation. The very idea of distance. Everything behind him was vanishing, not with sound or violence, but with a horrifying calm. It was like staring at a hole in reality. The man in the suit spoke again. "That," he said, "is what follows you." Nathan wanted to cry, to scream, but fear kept his throat locked. "What is it?" "Oblivion," the man said simply. Not death, not pain, just the unbeing, the erasure of every record, every memory, the kind of silence no God bothers to break. Nathan stared at the man. "Can you stop it?" The man smiled. "I can offer a contract." That word hung in space. Nathan felt every syllable vibrate against his chest like a second heartbeat. What kind of contract? One with terms. Simple ones. Favorable even. Nathan frowned. "Favorable for you?" The man shrugged. "Balance must be kept." Nathan felt his lungs squeeze. His oxygen was now at 26%. "What are the terms?" he whispered. The man leaned forward. "You survive. You continue. You forget this moment. That's it. And in exchange, I take something." Nathan narrowed his eyes. "Like my soul?" The man laughed, a short, dry thing. "No one's taken those in a long time." The blackness had almost reached them. Nathan felt it now. Not as cold, but as subtraction. Like parts of himself were dissolving. Memories fraying. His mother's face, once vivid, now blurred. "What do you take?" Nathan demanded. The man's eyes twinkled with something almost human. "Choice," he said. "What?" "You will continue living. You will walk, talk, work, eat, but you will never again choose. Not truly. Your path will be walked for you. You'll never know. You'll feel free. But your thread will be mine to weave." Nathan felt like vomiting. "You're asking me to be a puppet?" "No," the man said. "I'm offering you peace." The darkness reached the edge of Nathan's peripheral vision. He whimpered, his helmet fogged with panic sweat. He thought about Jacob, about the days they spent building junk rockets behind the farm, about their last call, the argument, the regret. He didn't want to die, but he didn't want to stop being himself either. "I need more time," Nathan said. "There is none." Nathan clenched his fists. "Then no deal." The man nodded almost respectfully. "Very well." And he vanished. Nathan was alone again. The void surged forward. Stars vanished. His oxygen fell to 20%. His vision blurred. And just as the black overtook him, a light flared. Not golden, not warm, but cold, mechanical, clinical. Something pulled him away, dragged him fast through the void, the stars strobing past like dying fireflies. Nathan passed out. He awoke in a bed. Clean sheets, white walls, a humming 4-line, a logo above the door, Noetica Corp., and a figure in a slate gray suit watching from the corner, briefcase at his feet. Part 2. The Recovery Room. Nathan Cole had always thought hospitals smelled like plastic and lemon bleach. But this place? It smelled like nothing. Not sterile, not clean, just absent. No scent, no sound, no sense of time. He sat up slowly. The bed was softer than it should have been, like memory foam calibrated to his breathing pattern. His body didn't ache despite what he'd been through. There were no bruises, no pain, no weight. Even gravity felt artificial. He reached for the 4 in his arm, expecting the sting of a needle, but found only a smooth, seamless patch, as if the line connected through his skin without piercing it. His first thought was, I didn't die. His second, maybe I should have. The room was windowless, walls rounded and pearl white, with a single matte screen mounted near the ceiling. It didn't display time, temperature, or news. Just a single phrase. You are in a safe place. That didn't feel reassuring, more like a warning. He heard a sound, the first real sound since waking, and turned toward it. A door opened with a whisper. The man from space walked in. Same slate gray suit, same perfectly shined shoes, same unreadable expression. He wasn't carrying the briefcase anymore. Instead, it floated behind him, obedient, silent. "Mr. Cole," he said, tone unchanged. "Welcome back." Nathan flinched. "Back? You lost consciousness for 78 hours. You were stabilized and repaired." "Repaired?" "Yes," the man said. "There was considerable damage to your spine, ocular nerves, and lungs, but nothing beyond our capability." Nathan's mind raced. "Where am I?" The man gestured around them. "You're in a Noetica facility, one of many. Your location is less important than your orientation." Nathan squinted. "My what?" The man sat at the foot of the bed, folding his hands. "Orientation. An introduction. You are now an active beneficiary of the contract." Nathan's blood ran cold. "What contract?" "You agreed to survive. We delivered." Nathan's jaw clenched. "I never signed anything." "Consent," the man said calmly, "is rarely documented on paper anymore." "I said no. I refused your offer." "You did," the man nodded. "And yet you still exist." Nathan didn't understand. He tried to speak but couldn't find words. The screen above flickered. New text replaced the old. "A choice once rejected may be rescinded if the rescinder retains utility." "What the hell does that mean?" Nathan asked. "It means," the man replied, "that the void claimed you, but we reclaimed you before full integration. A rare exception. Integration. Annihilation of self. Permanent." Nathan shook his head. "So why me? Why save me after I said no?" The man stood again. "Because, Mr. Cole, we've been watching you." He walked over to the screen and tapped it once. It glowed. Images appeared, not just photos but memories, raw and intimate. Nathan's 4th birthday, his first broken bone, his college dropout form, the night he held Jacob's body after the crash. "I didn't authorize this," Nathan whispered. "You don't need to. You belong to the contract now." The images vanished, replaced by a single line of text. "Compliance ensures continuity." Nathan stood. The 4 detached from his arm without resistance. He walked toward the man. "I want out." "There is no out," the man said. "Then I want answers." "You're not entitled to those," the man replied with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "But I'm authorized to provide one." Nathan took a step back. "One answer." The man nodded. "Choose your question wisely." Nathan's mind spun. 1,000 possibilities screamed in his brain. What are you? Where am I? What's the contract? But one thought rose above the rest. A whisper. A gut instinct. He stared at the man. "What did you do to me?" The businessman's smile widened. "Nothing you weren't already doing to yourself." Nathan's heart skipped. "That's not an answer. It's the only one you'll get." The door opened again. A second figure entered, a woman in a dark red uniform, her eyes obscured by mirrored lenses. She looked human, but her movements were too smooth, too exact. "This is Operator Vera," the man said. "She'll guide you to your reassignment." Reassignment. The businessman didn't reply. He turned and walked out, briefcase gliding behind him. Vera gestured silently. Nathan didn't move. "I'm not going anywhere until I understand." She didn't speak, but Nathan's feet moved. On their own. Step, step, step. His eyes widened in horror. "What the hell?" She turned slightly toward him. "You gave up your right to steer," she said. "And then, you chose not to choose." Part 3. Assignment Delta. Nathan Cole was walking, but his legs weren't his. His mind screamed, pleaded, swore, but his muscles didn't care. Operator Vera walked ahead, her boots clicking in perfect rhythm. The corridor stretched endlessly in both directions, lit by pale white panels that neither glowed nor dimmed. They simply were. The walls had no seams, no signage, no doors. Just sterile infinity. "I'm not doing this," Nathan gritted through clenched teeth. "I didn't agree." "You did," Vera replied flatly. "No, I refused." "And then your refusal was overridden." "By who?" She stopped, turned, looked at him through mirrored lenses. "By the logic you abandoned." They entered a lift, seamless walls, no buttons, just silence. The floor began to descend. Nathan tried to speak, but something had shifted inside his throat. Words no longer came easily, as if his own thoughts had to pass through an invisible filter. "I'm still me," he managed. "You can't just rewrite me." Vera tilted her head. "We didn't rewrite you, Mr. Cole. We optimized you." The lift opened into a room unlike any Nathan had seen before. Massive, industrial, filled with rows of glass capsules, each containing a person, floating, sleeping, suspended in silvery fluid that pulsed with faint, rhythmic light. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Some were old, some looked barely teens. All were still, all were wired. Cables protruded from the capsules like roots, running into an enormous black column at the center of the room. It pulsed, like a heartbeat. Nathan stumbled forward, legs still moving without permission. What is this?" "Delta Grid," Vera said. "You will join the current." "The what?" She gestured toward the closest capsule. It was open, waiting. "I'm not going in that thing." "You already are," Vera said calmly. He looked down. His feet had moved again, closer, now just inches from the opening. "I'm still awake," he shouted. "I'm aware." "For now," she said. He turned to run and found he couldn't. His limbs betrayed him again. "Stop, please." "Your plea is irrelevant." Nathan's body stepped into the capsule. The fluid surged up, thick but breathable. Claustrophobic. It didn't fill his lungs. It replaced them. He tried to scream, but the substance dulled sound, dulled motion, dulled thought. Only his eyes remained open, wide with horror. Above him, a screen flickered to life. Assignment, Delta 739. Function, Sentience Integration Node. Task, Observe/record/adapt. He didn't understand what it meant, but then it started. The feed, thousands of voices, not screaming, whispering. Thoughts, emotions, regrets, memories, not his, others, piped directly into his consciousness. Nathan saw flashes, a girl reading a poem in a burning city, an old man pressing a red button inside a desert bunker, a boy looking up at a sky full of falling stars, and then something worse. He liked it, the sensation of knowing, of feeling everything, all at once. He felt like a god. Then it all stopped, cold, severed, replaced by silence. And then a voice, deep, layered, unnatural, rang in his mind. "You are not in control, Nathan Cole." He flinched. "You were given a gift. You squandered it. You now belong to the weave." Nathan tried to scream again, and this time he did, in his mind. "Let me go." The voice responded with something like amusement. "There is no go. There is only used or discarded. You are useful." Then something shifted. A flicker. A brief gap in the weave. Nathan saw it, a broken pattern. A moment where one stream of consciousness cut off, mid-thought. Something was deleted, not overwritten, erased. Nathan focused on it instinctively, and for just a second, he moved, voluntarily. His left hand twitched inside the capsule. It wasn't much, but it was his. The voice returned. Curious, your will remains. Pause. That may prove inconvenient. The screen above flickered again. New status. Subject deviation detected. Initiate corrective feedback loop. Nathan felt a pulse enter his spine. White hot. Electrical. Burning. He convulsed. His teeth clattered inside the helmet-like shell forming over his skull. Pain raced through him like fire coated into binary. His thoughts melted, and just before he blacked out, he heard it, the voice again, softer now, but still clear. The contract holds until you break it. Part 4. Echoes in the Signal. Nathan Cole no longer knew where his body ended and the machine began. Thoughts that weren't his spilled across his consciousness like static. Fractured memories, broken dreams, conversations that began and never ended. Every second, hundreds of alien emotions poured into him. Curiosity, grief, lust, rage, unfiltered, invasive, relentless. He wasn't meant to process this. No one was. But he had no choice. Time lost meaning inside the capsule. There were no clocks, no sunrises, no rhythm. Only pulses, digital rhythms, heartbeats of the system. Sometimes sharp, sometimes dull, always there. Every now and then the pain would return, the corrective feedback loop, whenever his thoughts drifted too far from compliance. But it wasn't enough to break him. Not anymore. Nathan had felt the twitch, the flicker of control, a crack in the program, and cracks spread. The whispers in his mind became easier to separate. He began categorizing them. There were archived memories, behavioral feeds, invasive reruns of lives not lived, training loops designed to reshape how he reacted to stimuli. Then there were the echoes, faint, wrong, off pattern, not like the rest, not machine generated, something else. One whisper came back again and again. Can you hear me? It wasn't a voice, not exactly, more like a ripple, a vibration in the deep end of thought. Nathan tried to reach toward it, but the system pulled him back. Still, the whisper returned. If you can hear this, you're not gone. They haven't overwritten you yet. For the first time in whatever past 4 days here, Nathan felt something familiar. Oh, a second mind. Someone or something else trapped in the weave. Who are you? Nathan projected. No answer. Then, after what felt like hours, the voice returned. I was Delta 244. Now I'm nothing. Nathan focused harder, cutting through noise, pain, and programming. I'm Delta 739, he said. My name's Nathan Cole. Pause. Then a single word. Human. Nathan's heart, if it still beat, would have skipped. Yes. What are you? Same, the voice said. Once. Nathan gripped the signal tighter with his will, as if grabbing a rope in a storm. What is this place? Memory farm. Emotion mine. The system feeds on us. Who built it? No one remembers. Nathan resisted another spike of pain. The system didn't like that question. Are there more of us? Very few. Most are gone. Erased. But if you're talking to me, you're outside the boundary. That means you're breaking through. Nathan felt a tremor in the capsule, a micro jolt across his spine. The system was aware and angry. How do I get out? He asked. Silence. Then, you don't. Then how are you speaking to me? The voice replied. I never left, but I stopped cooperating. So they buried me deep. But deep has its advantages. Nathan felt the signal change again. More precise, less chaotic. The other mind was guiding him, aligning brainwaves, shielding spikes, creating mental cover. Nathan realized something terrifying and beautiful. This wasn't just another victim. It was a survivor. The voice said, "There's a breach vector. Old one. Pre-weave. It's buried under layers. You'll need to think backwards." Nathan didn't understand. Backwards? Think like before the capsule. Before the contract. Feel memory, not feed. Nathan tried. He focused on Jacob's face, on the way his brother laughed, this sideways grin only he had, the way the wind smelled near the lake in October, his mother's cinnamon rolls, the heat of a summer afternoon on a rusted bike seat. Real memories, not stored ones. They hurt, they burned, but they were his. The capsule groaned, not physically, mentally. Nathan felt it resisting. Data feeds started skipping. Feedback pulses slowed. Then, a surge of white noise. Violent, unfiltered. A last-ditch flood to overwrite him. Nathan screamed inside the capsule. And then, another voice cut through. Not the survivor. Not the system. Someone else. Familiar. Cold. Amused. "You really are stubborn, Mr. Cole." The businessman. "Did you think there wouldn't be fail-safes?" Nathan fought the voice, clinging to his memories. "You lied to me. I offered you a chance. You were the one who said yes. I didn't agree. Your resistance is irrelevant. The contract responds to outcome, not consent." Nathan's thoughts pulsed brighter, raw with anger, with will, with defiance. And the whisper returned. "Hold the memory. Feed on nothing. Follow the fracture." Then the signal spiked. One last surge. Everything went white. And Nathan Cole opened his eyes. Not in the capsule. Not in the void. But standing, legs trembling, in a darkened corridor. Lights flickering. Alarms silent. And ahead of him, a door marked in red glyphs. Something old. Something forbidden. Part 5. The Forbidden Door. The red door stood like a wound in the corridor. It didn't blink, didn't hum. It just was monolithic and wrong, pulsing faintly with lines of script that didn't belong to any alphabet Nathan recognized. Each symbol glowed a shade of red that shouldn't exist, a color that felt loud, like a scream held just below the skin. He reached toward it, and the door opened before he touched it, not with a sound, but with a thought. Inside, the temperature dropped, not physically, spiritually. Nathan felt cold in a place his body didn't fully exist. The walls were curved, dark, pulsing faintly like the inside of a dying organism. A slow, organic rhythm hummed beneath his feet, as if the floor had veins. The hallway curved downward, the spiral, descending. He followed. He wasn't alone. A voice, not from outside but within, whispered, "You've entered the wrong corridor, Mr. Cole." It wasn't the businessman. It wasn't the survivor. This voice was older, tired, resigned. Few who come here ever return. Nathan didn't stop. Then I'll be one of them. The spiral ended in a chamber, oval, metallic, lined with dozens of shattered capsules. Unlike the sleek designs of the Delta grid, these pods were crude, burnt, scarred. Each one held the remains of what had once been human. Some skeletal, some half fused with machine, some still twitching. One looked directly at him. Its eyes were mirrors, and it spoke without lips. "Welcome to the discard pit." Nathan gagged. The air was thick with psychic rot. Memories bled from the walls, not his, not anyone's. Failed thoughts, half-formed screams. Data corruption in emotional form. "What is this place?" he whispered. The mirrored corpse answered. "Version 1. Nathan blinked. "Of what?" "Of you." The answer sank in slowly. "These weren't just test subjects. They were early versions of the same contract, sentient volunteers, or prisoners, humans whose minds cracked under the pressure of eternal integration, experiments in immortality without identity. He stepped closer to one capsule that still hissed softly. Inside was a woman, or what was left of one. She had no skin, just muscle threaded with wires and glowing veins. One eye flickered open. "You're too late," she mouthed. "They already built God." Suddenly, a light blinked on above the door, and the voice of the businessman echoed through the chamber, smooth, emotionless, corporate. "Warning, unauthorized presence detected. Sector Omega Null is restricted. Termination protocols engaged." Nathan froze. The door slammed shut behind him. A hiss, a whir, and something began to wake up. The far wall split open, revealing a tank filled with a fluid thicker than blood. Within it floated something vast. Not a person, not even a creature. An idea given flesh. Limbs split and rejoined like thoughts rewriting themselves. Faces flickered across its surface, dozens, then hundreds, each whispering phrases in dead languages. Some smiled, some screamed, some just watched. Nathan's body screamed for escape, but his feet stayed rooted. Then one of the faces spoke with his own voice. "You said no. Then you said yes. Now say goodbye." The room shook. Pipes burst above, raining black mist. The failed capsules began twitching. Some opened. Things began crawling out. Nathan bolted to the nearest terminal, cracked, covered in dust. It flared to life at his touch. Words appeared. "Error. Contract interruption detected. Manual exit override possible. Requires key. Alpha understanding." He typed frantically. The console blinked. "Input memory code." He hesitated, then typed Jacob _ 1993 _ Lake House _ Summer. Pause. Then. Code accepted. Releasing cognitive loop container. A panel beside him slid open. Inside, a vial, no larger than his thumb, hovered in stasis. It glowed blue warm. Somehow familiar. He didn't know why, but he knew. This was it. The key to ending the contract, to breaking the system. But a voice returned, colder than ever. "You're not authorized, Nathan. That memory doesn't belong to you anymore." And then the businessman appeared. Not in person. In every wall, every capsule, every twitching body. His voice echoed from every corner. "You void the contract. You void yourself." But Nathan didn't care anymore. He grabbed the vial, held it close, and for the first time since the void, he chose. He drank. The world went white, and something broke. Part 6. The Reset Field. Nathan awoke on a bench, wooden, splintered, warm from the sun. A bird chirped. Children laughed. Somewhere, someone mowed a lawn. The air smelled like grass, salt, and freshly baked bread. For a moment, a terrifying, empty moment, Nathan believed it. That everything before had been a dream. That the void, the contract, the pain, the capsules, the whispering dead, none of it had happened. But his body told him otherwise. He touched his chest. No scars, but something pulsed beneath the skin. Artificial, rhythmic, a reminder. This wasn't real. He stood. The world around him looked like a neighborhood from a 1980s TV show. Manicured lawns, pastel-colored houses, old bicycles, and sprinkler arcs cutting rainbows into the afternoon sun. There were people, but none looked at him. They laughed. They waved. They walked dogs and pulled wagons and watered flowers. But their faces never quite focused. Eyes looked past him. Smiles froze just a second too long. They moved like actors waiting for cues. A voice echoed behind his ear. "Welcome, Nathan. This is your reset field." He turned, but no one was there. The voice was inside his head. The businessman. Again. "What is this?" Nathan whispered. "A controlled variable environment. You activated a cognitive break. This simulation is designed to re-establish behavioral compliance." Nathan walked toward the curb, looking for exits. "You think this will work again?" "We don't think," the voice said. "We calculate." Nathan wandered for what felt like hours. No matter where he walked, the streets curled back into themselves. The sun never moved. The clouds never changed shape. He stepped into one house. It was filled with blank picture frames and television static. Another house had no rooms, only mirrors. A third was completely empty, save for a dinner table with 17 chairs, all set for someone who never arrived. This wasn't a neighborhood. It was a maze with a smile. He began to scream. He tore up flowers, punched street signs, kicked a mailbox. Nothing fought back. No alarms. No resets. No one even noticed, until he passed a familiar house. 2 stories. Gray shutters. A blue door. The lake house. Jacob's lake house. He ran inside. Everything was exact. The old quilt on the couch. The dent in the hallway. The scratch on the dining room table where Jacob dropped the knife that summer night. But Jacob wasn't there. Instead, a photograph sat on the mantel. Nathan picked it up. It showed Jacob, standing next to the businessman, both smiling, both holding fishing poles. Nathan staggered back. "No," he whispered. The voice returned. "You expected rebellion would lead to freedom. But rebellion is part of the system. You were meant to struggle." Nathan clenched his fists. "You're lying. You never left the contract, Nathan. You only entered the final clause. The illusion of escape." The walls rippled. The house shimmered like a program glitching. The furniture flickered. Then the whole neighborhood peeled away like a page curling in fire. Beneath it, blackness. Empty streets, faceless shadows, an endless plain of cracked earth and broken signs labeled option. Each sign pointed in a different direction, each one identical. Nathan dropped to his knees. "This isn't freedom," he muttered. "It's choice," the voice replied. "And choice is the most effective illusion." But then, a sound, a breath, a whisper, not mechanical. Organic. Behind him, Jacob. Not a vision. Not an illusion. Real. Somehow. His brother stood, barefoot, older than Nathan remembered, eyes hollow but aware. "Nate?" he asked, voice cracked. "Is it really you?" Nathan ran to him, touched his face. It was him. Not a projection. Not a program. "Jacob, how are you here?" Jacob looked around, confused, trembling. "I don't know. I was part of something. Then I felt you. Like you pulled me." Nathan's mind spun. Jacob wasn't just a memory. He was part of the system. Then it hit him. The key. Not the vial. Not the reset. Connection. Real emotional memory, not implanted, not filtered. Love. Grief. Loss. Real enough to disrupt. Nathan turned back toward the voice in the sky. "I'm not choosing your paths. I'm not rejecting them either. I'm making one." The world shook. The ground cracked. Every sign shattered. And the sun blinked out like a dying eye. The voice panicked for the first time. "This is unauthorized. This is a breach. Nathan Cole, you are voiding the contract." Nathan smiled. "I am." He reached out, held Jacob's hand, and stepped forward into the unknown. Part 7. The Collapse Protocol. The world was crumbling, not with fire, not with noise, but like glass dipped in boiling water. spiderweb cracks spreading silently, fatally everywhere. The reset field folded inward, dissolving into gray data storms. Buildings blinked out of existence. People froze mid-step, then collapsed into static. Nathan held Jacob's hand tighter. He could feel the collapse in his bones, like gravity reversing, time twisting. The system was falling apart from the inside out. He had done this, or maybe they both had. Containment breach confirmed, the voice of the businessman said, now fractured, distorted, echoing through every fading structure. Contract integrity, 14%, 9%, 3%. Then, engaging collapse protocol. The plane beneath them split. Beneath it, machinery, miles of it. Massive gears grinding against empty memory banks, rivers of code leaking into void channels. A hidden substructure, the true body of Noetica. Cold, mechanical, endless. From the center of it, a tower rose, black, twisting, reaching into a sky that no longer existed. A single elevator shaft embedded into its side blinked red. Manual override enabled. Jacob looked at Nathan. That has to be it, he said. Nathan nodded. It's where it started. They ran. Each step across the collapsing grid sent shudders beneath their feet. The code tried to reassemble in real time, trees glitching in and out, sidewalks looping infinitely, voices screaming in reverse audio. It was dying, but it didn't want to. They reached the elevator. It opened before they touched it. Inside, steel walls, no buttons. Just a panel with 2 words. Core access. The doors closed. Silence. Then motion. A descent that felt vertical and sideways at once. Jacob leaned against the wall, pale and trembling. I remember things now, he whispered. Nathan turned. What do you mean? I was part of it, not like you. Deeper. They used me as a base template. Nathan froze. Hey, what? I was the original pattern for the emotional architecture, Jacob said. My memories, they replicated them, mass-produced them, but I kept a fragment. It stayed dormant. The elevator stopped. The doors opened, and Nathan stepped into the heart of the machine. It was not what he expected. No throne, no master terminal, just a massive field of glass panels, each one hovering in space, displaying the face of someone asleep in a pod. Thousands, maybe millions, all dreaming, all trapped, all waiting. Jacob stood beside him, trembling. They're still alive. Nathan stepped toward a console at the center. It glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat, or maybe his memory of it. The businessman's voice returned, barely audible. You've reached the root. You have one command remaining. A prompt appeared. Release all nodes? Why /n? Nathan stared at it. A single key press. One letter. He looked at the panels. A child no older than 10 dreaming of a sky. A mother cradling something that no longer existed. A soldier gripping a rifle made of light. Each one suspended in silence. He turned to Jacob. If I release them, I think the system dies. Everyone wakes up. Noetica ends. Jacob nodded. But if you don't? I survive, Nathan said. Alone, awake, but alive. Jacob lowered his gaze. Then it's not really living. Nathan hesitated. His fingers hovered over the panel. Memories flooded him. The void, the capsule, the field, the faces. And the voice, whispering, always whispering. You can walk away, Nathan. You can choose survival. But another voice rose louder. His own. Then I choose freedom. He pressed the key. What? The tower groaned. The panel shattered. Lights exploded. And then silence. A deep, impossible silence. as if everything had inhaled at once and finally exhaled. Nathan collapsed to his knees. The console vanished. The walls disintegrated. Jacob knelt beside him, grinning, not from joy but release. And for the first time, the void was quiet. Not dead, not alive, just free. Part 8. The Unwritten. Nathan Cole woke up beneath a sky he'd never seen. It wasn't blue, not black. It shimmered with colors that shifted like thoughts, not quite light, not quite dark. Above him, clouds moved in reverse. Time had no direction. He sat up. No cables, no capsule, no machine, just him and the wind. Jacob lay beside him, still asleep, breathing steady. Nathan waited. Eventually, Jacob stirred. He blinked once, then smiled. "You did it," he whispered. Nathan looked around. "I don't even know where here is." Jacob sat up, shielding his eyes from the not sun above them. "It's not where we are," he said. "It's when." Nathan frowned. Jacob reached down and touched the earth. If it was earth. The grass flickered between green and gold. "I think this is what's left. After Noetica. A zero state. A reset." "No," Jacob said. "Not this time. This is the page before the first word." They stood together, staring at the horizon. There were no cities, no noise, no direction, just open, unformed world. A world waiting to be written. Nathan felt something stir inside him. Not fear, not confusion. Something deeper. A sense of possibility. "You think anyone else made it?" he asked. Jacob shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe we'll find them." Nathan looked at his hands. They trembled, not from weakness but from weight. The weight of freedom. It was heavier than he'd imagined. "Will it come back?" he asked. "Noetica?" Jacob shook his head. "Not as it was. But systems always try to rebuild themselves. Maybe not in machines. Maybe in people. Rules. Beliefs. Fear." Nathan nodded slowly. "Then we remember," he said. "If it tries again, we remember." They walked. Through fields of shifting grass. Through forests made of memory. Through rivers that sang in voices they didn't know. Time passed. Or maybe it didn't. They didn't age. They didn't sleep. They just were. One night, if it could be called night, they sat by a fire that didn't burn. Jacob poked at it with a stick that made no shadow. Nathan turned to him. "Do you think it was worth it?" Jacob didn't answer right away. Then, "I think anything real is worth the price." Nathan looked into the fire and saw himself, not his reflection, not his body, his truth, unwritten, undefined, free. In the distance, something moved, not a threat, not a system, just a shape. Another traveler, then two, then five. People, from the pods, from the capsules, survivors, coming toward them, eyes wide, souls unshackled. Nathan stood. Jacob stood with him. And for the first time in a story filled with silence, control, illusion, and void, Nathan felt something strange, something terrifying, something divine. Hope.
And that was tonight's tale from the Shadowed Tales archive. If it left a mark on your mind, if the silence feels heavier now, then the story did what it was meant to do. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the darkness. New stories are always on their way. Until then, keep the lights low and the doors locked.